Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so far where we've reached is good. We're just remaining with creating a home page and a 404 page not found. So we're going to create those two plugins as the base because we know that every website requires at least a home page and a page not found page as well. All right, so remember that the page not found is only activated when there is no plugin that was loaded on that particular page, or plugins could have been loaded, but there was no HTML to be very specific. Alrighty then, so let's come back here a second. Let me go to the app. So this is our project folder. I'm going into app core app.php and where is this? Before, after. Okay, so here what we're doing is I just thought of a way to speed things up here. Now, things will still be fast here where we're checking to see whether we should go to the page 404 or not. But let me just try something new here. So what we're doing here is saying we grab the contents of the HTML that were echoed in the before view. So we grab them there, and then once we load a view, we grab those contents and then make a comparison. We're not just comparing, we're doing a string replace of the before and after. Now, I just thought that maybe if this is a lot of content, this could actually waste a little bit of time. So what we could do instead is just look at the length of this and compare it to the length of that. Now, if there's a difference between the two, then it means some more content was added here, and so we can then not show the 404 page. Now, I think string counting of a string might take less time than string replacing. I'm not really sure which takes more time. I will do a what do you call this, unit testing to see which one is faster, so that we can use one that is much faster. But I think counting could be easier. So what I'm going to do is say something like copy the before here, and I'm going to say if before content. Now we're going to use string here, or string length, like that. So we say if string length, the before content here, if string length after, let's put that one here, is greater than the before content. So if that length is greater than the before, so I'm not going to equate it, I'm just going to say is greater, so that once it bypasses that counting number, then it can stop. Let's see, there we go. So if this is equal to, maybe let's do that. So if the length of this is equal to the length of that, then page not found. So let's just test this and see if anything works here. So it still seems to work fine, and I think that's a faster way to vet whether we've loaded something or not. So just a thought, if it turns out that the other one is faster, I'm going to replace that, but for now let's keep that. Though the other method is what I use in production value, and it works just fine as well. But this one I just thought of recently and thought maybe I can change this part to make it run faster. All right, so with this in mind, let's actually try it and see if we don't show anything in any of our views, whether we're going to get a page not found. So I'm going to make sure that on my view, for every plugin, I just disable whatever it's showing. So I'm gonna go to each plugin here and just disable every single view. So I've disabled those two. There's header footer here, and I'm going to disable that as well. So I just want to see it go to the page 404, and there it is. It actually did. Alrighty guys, so now that we know everything works as intended, I'm going to go to my plugins folder here and open that folder. These are the plugins in here, and what I want to do is delete everything in here except the htaccess file. So never delete that htaccess file. Let's remove all the plugins from there. So all these files are now useless. We can close all files and do not save. Okay, so we start afresh. We have a working framework here. Let me delete that file. All right, so we have a working framework here, good to go, without any plugins. And if we try to reload the page, this is what we get by default. Okay, so let's use our command line tool to create some plugins. So I'm going to right click here and open folder, because I just want to copy the folder path when I open my command line here. So let's do cd, change directory to that, and cls to clear the screen. All right, so now that we have that, we can now do PHP Thunder and say make and then go plugin. Okay, so make plugin, and we need to specify the folder of the plugin we want to create. So in this case, I want to create a homepage plugin. So I'm just going to say home-page. Now you don't have to name your plugin like this. You can just name it as home if you want. That's up to you. It's just that in my I just think that if I put two of these like that, it just makes it more unique, because home is very common. It's very easy for another person to create a plugin named home, but either way, it doesn't really matter. You can put home or just homepage, or give it whatever name you want. So press enter, and it says plugin creation complete, and there is the plugin folder. And then we're going to create a second plugin here. I'm going to do PHP Thunder and say make plugin again, and this time we're going to just call this one 404, like that. So two plugins, enter. Right, great. And then we're going to put a third plugin that we're going to use to test searches on here, because I want to show you how you can make use of one plugin within another plugin, because these plugins are extendable as well. The way we can extend a plugin is to add hooks to that plugin as well, just like we have hooks in the main framework here. For example, when we go to the core app, we have these guys like do action. Now you can add these very functions inside any plugin, and that way other plugins can actually do stuff within that plugin. So you can have a combination of plugins connecting to each other and getting information and sharing data in that way. Okay, so let's get back to our command line tool. And this one, I'm going to create a plugin called test. Or maybe let's just wait. Let's exit this. Oh, wait, before we exit, let me leave it there for a second. So now if I refresh, we can create the plugin later. So I see these two plugins created, the 404 and the home page. So let's go back to the home page. Now, as you can see, they run on every single page. Whatever page I load, these plugins run, because that's how they are configured. So if I go to my plugin folder here, let's start with the home page, or even the 404. Let's go to the config here, and instead of new plugin, let's call it the page not found, like that. And then its ID could be, what can we use the ID here for? It could be 404, just like that. I think that's unique. in its way, because 404, when creating an ID, you have to think of it should probably be just numbers and letters. It shouldn't be any crazy symbols, because you could start it with an underscore like this. This is fine, 404 like that, because remember that this ID could be used as an array key. It could be used as I think that's pretty much it, an array key. So we'll leave it at that, like so. If we have any problems, in case you have any problems starting with numbers, you can put an underscore like that, just to be sure. So that's page not found. The ID is 404. That's okay. That's just a unique identifier for this plugin. And the author here, I'm just going to put my name there, right? And then I will also put my website, www. This is never going to show anywhere, but it actually does show somewhere, because eventually we will make a plugin manager for our admin section there. So let's see, free PHP tutorials.com. All right, so if you want, you can add a thumbnail within the folder here for your plugin, but that's not needed. This is for selecting whether this plugin should be active or not. If we write false for it like that, it should disappear from here, and as you can see there, it's disabled now. All right, so let's get back here. Let's change that back to true. The index is when the thing runs, so it doesn't really matter, because on the 404 page, I'm expecting this to run first, as the plugin to run first, so I'll just leave it at index 1. And then these are the routes. So this one should only run on the 404 page, so that's the only place it's on. Now off is only used in the event where you have or here, so it runs on every page. Then you can put exceptions here, but for now this one should run on the 404 page, like so. So that's the only place it will run. So if I leave it at or and leave that at true, I want you to see that we're on the home page and that plugin loads as well. So both plugins load, but if I say this one only runs on the 404, then when I refresh, it disappears from the home page. But if I go to, right now we can't tell the difference between those. So let's wait until we can edit the views. So this is it for the 404. Let's go to the home page plugin. So we go to the config JSON as well. So this one will be named home page. And here, to give it a unique key as well, I'll do home page. If you have many home page plugins, you can put numbers there to make it unique. Okay, so author again. Website, I can easily just copy this from there, paste it there. All right, so the home page obviously will run on the home like that. Index 1 is fine, true, active. Okay, great. So now that all our plugins are not running on every location, we will have some 404 redirects now, but in order to see that in all its glory, let's make the views a bit different for each page. So what I'm going to do is let's try with the 404 first. Now remember that we have Bootstrap CSS already there in the in the assets here. So it's just there in case you need to use it. You don't have to use Bootstrap. It's just convenient sometimes. And also keep in mind that this Bootstrap is in the main assets page, but of course you can put your very own CSS per plugin. The idea of these plugins is to make them very portable. So it's a good idea to actually put your CSS in here in the assets of that particular plugin. Yeah, but if you know that it's going to use Bootstrap anyway, you can just load the Bootstrap, because you know that the framework comes with Bootstrap. You can just use that there. So in your situation, you can put Tailwind as well, or a different CSS library. All right, so enough talk, let's move on. So the view for the 404, this is what we've got. Now, I don't like this, so what we're gonna do is I will leave the style.css file loaded there, even though it's empty, and the plugin.js. In case you ever need to put some JavaScript and stuff, you can do that there. Now, always be reminded that these files are always cached by the browser. So the day you actually want to type some CSS after a long time, you will need to force the browser to uncache this, or to just tell it to pretend that this is a different file. And you can do that by putting a question mark at the end and just put some random number like so. Then the browser will be forced to reload this page, and if it caches it again, you can just change this number to some other random number, and it will think this is a different resource and reload it again. So just something to keep in mind there. All right, so we're on the 404 page. What I'm gonna do is change what's in here and just type page not found. Okay, now here, instead of loading the wait a minute, I think we need one more for the header and the footer. Yes, that's what will contain the header and the footer part, of course, for our HTML. So let's create that plugin as well. So let's go PHP Thunder, make plugin. Let's do header, footer. Now, as you can see, all these things I've created as separate plugins, but if you want, you can make this whole thing into just one plugin which contains all these pages. So we will see how that can be done if that's what you want as well. Okay, so now we have a header footer plugin over here. Great. Let's go in there and edit that as well. So this one is header and footer. So we'll name it conveniently header footer, and you can put all the details required there, website, whatever. And I want this to run on all pages. Now you can exclude certain pages if you don't want it. For example, on the login and the sign up, on the logout page, you don't want this to run, you can put those in here. For now, let's just leave it at that. Okay, great. So what is next? Yes. So in the views here, instead of just having one view file, we're going to have header and footer. So what I'll do is I'll put HTML like that to have the normal boilerplate HTML. And then what I'll do is I'll echo out the app name, because this comes from our config file, if you remember. So that's the app name here. And then you can also echo the page name here. So what I will do is I will do this. We have a function called page like that, and we're going to do this and put a pipe there like so. So we have the application name and the page name over here. Now page name is small letter cases, so we'll do UC first like that, so it can capitalize on the first letter of this word like that. So if it's home, it starts with a capital H. So the header will have this body, but then this, let's take to our footer, right? And because I want to use Bootstrap on the entire website, I'm just going to load it right here. So I'm just going to do this. Let's say link, and on that link I will put the root, because I want to grab from the main and not from my particular plugin. And whenever you use root, you have to put that slash at the end. Let's put assets there, and then a CSS, and then we're gonna go slash what's this, Bootstrap .min.css. So now if you load this and you find that your files are not loading, then you have missed the URL. It's always just the URL problem. And then down here on the body, I want to put some script tags for Bootstrap as well. So here I'm just going to say source, and then I will put that root again, and then assets, and then this time we go for JS, and then we'll say bootstrap.min.js. all right, so at least now we have this part should go to the header, to the body here. So I'll leave this in the header and then this in the footer. So I'm just going to rename this file to header.php, and then I will cut out this section, save this, new file in there, and paste and save this one as footer.php and save. Great. So now we have two files, our header and our footer. Good. And then now if we go back to the plugin itself, this is inside header footer, remember that? This is what we have here. So plugin name, you can put stuff here. You can put the author name, just so somebody can know who made this plugin. And then description, created. You can say plugin created for Thunder PHP, or something to that effect. Plugin name, this one is header footer. This is just commentary here. It's not used for anything at all, just for somebody to see when they open the plugin. Alright, so definitely some things we are not going to need. Let's see, header and footer. This is just for displaying header and footer. We don't really want to deal with permissions in here, so I'm going to remove that. We can always add it back if we need to. We're not going to need any controllers here. We're just displaying a header and a footer, so let's remove that. We'll definitely need a view. We won't need to deal with anything after querying, because we won't be querying anything in here anyway. So let me remove that as well. In here we can set some values, right? But currently I don't think there are values we really need here, except wait a minute, header and footer? No, I don't think we need any of this stuff. So out. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is really the only thing that remains. You can remove the comments here if you don't need them anymore, to reduce the file sizes and stuff. So only we need before view hook and after view hook. Those two are quite necessary. So we should add this not in the view but before view, and the reason we do that is because if we add it in the view, let's say we add the header and the footer in the view, what will happen is if we go to a page that does not exist, because we'll still be loading the header and the footer content, it's going to think there's a valid page there. So we still need the header and footer to be there on a 404 page. So that's why we put them in the before view and the after view. Because if you go back and look at the app.php here, we have this hook over here. That's the before view. So this runs, the header will be set in here, not in there, and then the footer will be set in there. However, if before we get to this point, we're going to redirect. At this point, if it turns out there was nothing loaded in the view, then we redirect to the 404 page. Okay. So in here, we don't need any vars whatsoever. So let's remove that as well. And then here we'll go views, and this one will be, this is before view, so it's going to go to the header, and this one to the footer. So let's decorate the header and the footer for a second. The footer is down here. Now you could put an actual footer like a div or something. So let's add a div here, and here I'm just gonna put maybe an maybe h1 is too strong, maybe h3 tag, and say footer like that. And I want this centralized, so I'm gonna just put the center tag like this and move this one here. Then I will put a div over here and say copyright, and let's put the current date, shall we? So the current year, so I'm gonna say date and y like so, to just grab the year. Copyright, blah blah blah. Alright, that is great. Okay, so header and footer, so those two should load when I do this. Okay, so you see our footer over here, but we see nothing of our header, right? So because the header doesn't really have a menu or anything like that, so that's why we're not seeing anything in here. So you could put a menu here with a home page if you would like, but we can create a menu. We will create a menu plugin eventually. So let's put div over here. And let's do this. So maybe an a tag instead. So let's do a tag, and this one just goes to root like that, and then we say home. Alright, so there we go. So we have home there, and we have footer down here. And then there is this plugin here, which is the homepage plugin. Now this guy over here, because remember that we are running Bootstrap in here, that's why this font has changed like this. It's not Times Roman anymore. It shows that our Bootstrap is running fine. Now if for some reason Bootstrap hasn't loaded, just go to view page source and then click on each of these links. If you get a page 404, then you know that it's your link that has a problem to that asset. So you need to adjust that link as needed on the links themselves. Same thing with this style.css, that one exists. So the JavaScript also exists. So we are on good terms here. So with this, I can actually use some of Bootstrap's classes. So here I can just do class, and I want this to be a column MD, so that it resizes on the medium size to full. But here I want, because Bootstrap has 12 columns, I want this to cover maybe 10 columns like so. But then I will do MX auto, which means auto left and margin left and right should be auto. I want it to move slightly there like so. And then let me add a bit of padding. So I'm going to add padding of 4 units in Bootstrap terms. And then I'm going to add a background light like so, so that it's a slight gray in the background. So there it is. We have it going all the way up to there, and there's a home button over here, which is nice. So we can do very similar stuff in the in the footer, so that we have uniformity here. Excuse me. So I'm gonna go to the footer here. We can add this on this guy. So there we go. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so at least now we have some similarity over here and there. That's great. Now the top part here, the header, you could add a shadow. Just a little bit of a shadow there for Bootstrap class. Yeah, that way we have something like this. Now this plugin down here is the home page, so let's fix that as well. Now I went ahead and got some illustrations from FreePic, very good website for getting stuff here for photos. So I selected vectors and just did one for page not found and the other one for, what did I do? Puzzle pieces, or puzzle 3D or something. So search for puzzle with the other one. So I got some images here. So we're gonna use this particular image here. Now image choice is entirely up to you. We can use this one here. Or what else? Which other image would be good? I had thought that one was good, but I do not know anymore. You know, coding is hard, but selecting images is even hard, because an image can make or break your project. Yeah, it may look not just right simply because you chose the wrong images. So I guess image selection is quite important. So I don't really know what I should add here. Okay, let me go with what I had originally. So let me grab this one here. So select whatever images you want, and I'm going to grab these two, this one and one for the 404 page. Where did I? Okay, there it is. So copy those two, and I'm going to come to here. Let me open the assets folder for header footer here. No, actually not that, for homepage. So assets for homepage in the images folder, open that folder and paste. So people connecting puzzle here, I'm just gonna call this image puzzle.png, and then this one I'll cut it from here again. I'm gonna go into plugins and 404 assets images and paste in here and just name it 404.jpg. All right, so those are our images, and now we're going to go to the plugin page for home. So this is what it has. Now the home also just displays a home page, so we're not doing anything fancy here, no database connections. Now it's very important that the pages or the plugins that load when you are deploying the framework do not depend on your database or any database whatsoever, or database data, because you don't want to load your framework the first time and be asked to start typing database names and all that stuff. A user should at least be able to see something before they engage in technical stuff, right? So homepage, we won't need any permissions here because there's no editing or adding of anything. We don't need a controller either because we won't be doing any processing. We just need a view file. This is all we need. I'm gonna remove all of that as well. So plugin name, you can say homepage, and you can describe it and say displays the homepage of a website. Okay, so with that, we already know what this is doing, so we can remove that. We don't need any vars, we just need to display a view. So we can have that view.php like there. You can rename it to home.php, that's up to you. But what do we want here? What I want is to put the image over here. Now I will leave these center thingies over here and put my image between them. So we're gonna do image, and our source here is going to be we're going to use that plugin HTTP path, and then of course we go into assets. Now HTTP path comes with a slash. Now if you're not sure about that, you can simply put your text within there like so. So assets, and then you say CSS, no, sorry, my bad, images, and then slash, what did I call it, puzzle.png, something like this. Yep. And let's close that PHP tag. We also need to add some styling here to give this a max width. Let's give it a width of 100%, but then let's cap it. Let's give it a maximum width of 400 pixels. And yep, that should do it pretty much. So let's come back here and let's refresh. And this is what you get over here. So this box ends here, but we want to follow the process we used in the header view file. So I just want to copy these classes here from Bootstrap so that we have something similar. So this is now the view for the home page. Yep, I'm going to replace this style with a class name instead, like that, with classes. Yes, maybe we don't need shadow. Okay, so there we go. Actually, the shadow here, now let's remove that shadow. Alright, yeah, I think that works. That works better. Or we can remove the BG light so that we don't see where the image is ending, because it's got a white, yes, something like this. Okay, so that's good, but here let's put an maybe H1 tag and say welcome to Thunder PHP. Okay, something like that. Let's try this. Okay, welcome to Thunder PHP. And then we can do, what do we do here? Let's put a div and say a plugin based framework. Why do I keep missing letters here? A plugin based PHP framework. Yep. Boom. Let's put italics here. I rarely use italics, but they're kind of cool. So, welcome to Thunder PHP. Oh, why don't we have a date on down here? Let's go to footer and see what's going on. Oh, we didn't echo this here. Sorry, we didn't put the equal sign. So careful with that. And there we go. Copyright date. Okay, then we have a homepage here. Very cool. Now, if we happen to go elsewhere, like for example, we type products, because this does not exist, we will go to the page not found page there, which is awesome. But let's decorate that as well. So what I'm going to do is get exactly what's on the home page view file. I'm just going to copy everything from here. And let's go to our 404 views view file and then just paste it here. Now we just need a different image here. That image is called 404 and it's a JPEG file instead. So let's do .jpg. And then let's change this to page not found. And then here we say, sorry, we couldn't find what you are looking for. Something like this. Okay, so let's refresh and there it is. Page not found. Sorry. But if we click home page, we are back to home and anything else leads us to 404. All right, very good. So now we need to be able to add more plugins like login and sign up, and then automatically get the menu items here and such. We'll see how to do that. For now, I'm going to show you a little trick. on how to make your, it's not really a trick or anything, but it's just how this thing should work. If I go to my 404 page here, see page not found, but we can ask the user to actually search for something down here instead, right? So what I want to do is, let me go to Bootstrap website for a second here, because I really don't like typing. I would rather just copy and paste stuff. Laziness is king. Okay, so when we get here, let's go to docs, and I'm looking for form control input group. Yes, that's the one. So I'm just looking for that search bar that comes with Bootstrap. This is the beauty of Bootstrap. Even if you don't know these classes very well, you can easily just come here, use the reference, and just copy and paste stuff. What's wrong with my internet? Anyway, not like I'm surprised. Internet here is terrible, to put it mildly. Okay, so while this wait a second, did it load or not? Yeah, look at that, I had to click twice. Anyway, we have this thingy here. Speaking of which, if you go to icons here, you can put icons in these things. Maybe you can use Font Awesome or Bootstrap icons. That's entirely up to you. Font Awesome actually has more icons than Bootstrap icons, but I guess they're adding more icons by the day with Bootstrap, so maybe it'll get better. That's up to you which one you want to use. You can put all that stuff in the assets folder in readiness for work, depending on what you want to do. Let's see here, do we have a search? Okay, so we do have that, at least. Interesting. But I think Font Awesome is more awesome. Let's grab Font Awesome, shall we? Okay, let's not get carried away by those things. Let's go back to what we were doing on Bootstrap inputs. So right about here, I want to copy this part because I want to make something that looks like a search. So I'll copy this, and let's come back to our page not found. So here where we say, sorry you couldn't find what you're looking for, we can also say, yeah, no, we can just put a search bar here. I think everybody knows what a search bar is at this point. You don't really need to tell them that they can search for stuff here. Let me change this to MY so that there it was margin bottom, but now it's margin top and bottom. So if I come back here, because we actually have Bootstrap installed, this is what we get. We get a search bar. So here we can just replace that with search. Yeah, and then username. Okay, I never use these, but I think they are kind of required for, what do you call that, accessibility options, but hey, I'll remove them. Okay, so this thing extends too far, so I just want it to be shorter. So use column MD 10. Let's try that. No, okay, 10 is right around there. Let's try 6. Yeah, doesn't seem to change anything at all. Why is that? Oh, because this is not a row. Okay, so we need class row over here. Hopefully it doesn't change anything. Ah, yes, see, it does change stuff. But why isn't this changing? Oh, maybe this has its own settings. Okay, so let's undo that for a sec. What I can just do is this. I can just say mx auto, and then put a style instead and say max width, and put that at maybe 500 pixels, like that. Okay, and there we go. So we have our search here, but I want this on the other side. So what I would do is I'll just move this down here. This is the search thingy. Now what you could do, instead of relying on icons here, you could go to a site like Icon Monster, where we can actually grab users' cookies. Yes, my friend, no problem. I accept your cookies. So I will search here. Let me search for a nice icon for search. Come on, internet. Come on, come on, come on. Font Awesome has not loaded yet. Okay, no problem. We just want this one here. Simple, easy peasy. I'm gonna click on this one. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, so while that is loading on, it has loaded. So instead of SVG or PNG, we want to embed. So let's click on that embed to get the code. Wow, that's a lot of code for for a small thing like that. I think when you have circles and stuff, that's what you get. So let's put some space here and put that SVG file in there, like so. Yeah. Now with SVG, there's this HTTP something. I don't know if this ever works at all. So we can remove this, just reduce the amount of, but you can leave it there. Let's just leave it there. You know, maybe it does something important that I don't know about. Okay, so with that, if I go back now, I will have a nothing in there. Why is that? Okay, let's see, view box, that is cool. And there is a path and everything. Okay. Okay, maybe it's because it's in here. So let me just move it out of here just to be sure that it actually works. Yeah, it does work out here. So why doesn't it work in here? Wow, nothing. Okay, that's a bust. No problem. We move on with our lives. So let's put the word search instead, and we can remove it from the placeholder. And then let's give this a name, and we're gonna call it find, like that. Okay. And then what else? I want to change this to BG primary so that it's a nice blue color. And there we go. But I want the text to be white, so I'll say text white. All right, there we go. Okay, so there we have a search bar here, and we can put auto, what's that? Autofocus is equal to true, like this. That way, whenever you come here, it's already on the search. You can just start typing and stuff. Okay, so page not found. We could not find anything. Now, here comes the issue I want to talk about. Wait. This is painfully small. Let me put 500. Okay, there we go. Okay, so at this point, the issue is, let me go back home. Back. Okay. So the issue is that we are putting a search field here on the 404 page, right? But instead we want other, because we don't really know what the user is going to be searching for on this website. They could be searching for pages, they could be searching for posts, and even if we knew what they're going to be searching for, we wouldn't even know how to display that stuff, right? So we should put it in such a way that we can actually intercept that data and replace it with a plugin that we of our own. So this is how you extend your plugin. So here I know that other plugins may need to use this so that when you search, they can display their results here. So we're going to add filters and let's see here. So name is find, and we know this is a form. Or is it a form at all? Let me change this to form, right? It should be a form. Yes. Let's see if nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Okay. So it's has a method of get. So what we're going to do here is on the value of this, if we go to our functions here and let's say old value, so we have this old value function, and then we can actually change whether we are looking in the post or get variable. So key default, and then we get to choose the method. So here what I'm going to do is echo the old value, and then I know the key is find, and then the default value is emptiness, and then the method is get, and then don't forget to close that PHP tag like so. So the value of that is that now if I type something like I'm searching for something like this, and then I hit search. Oh, this is not really a button, is it? Okay, so those are things to look out for. This should be a button. And there we go. Button. Let's come back and let me refresh. Okay, there we go. So now I can search. Yes. So if I do something like this and then search, wait a second, it should come back here. So why isn't it? So it seems we never tested that function at all. So let me go back and look at it to make sure it actually works as intended. So let's search again. Function old value. Okay, so we have a key that's find. If type is equal to get, type is equal to post here, array is get, right? Array. This should work. So what is going on? Okay, what I'm gonna do is just to test what is in here, I'm just gonna do this. Okay, just want to see what's in there. Okay, it's get actually. So what about if I do array like that? What happens? Array key like this. Boom. Let's see that. So undefined variable get in. What? Undefined variable get. How does that's weird. Is it telling me that it does not know the get variable, the get super global here? Okay, so it's acting up. So it seems this will not do for us. Okay, so let's change things a little bit here before we lose. So what I'm going to do is say if type is equal to get here, let's do this. Let's say array is equal to, let's just put the post itself like this, and then here we'll say it's equal to get like that. Okay, great. And then we can remove the double to a single one like that. Okay, so let me copy this to that, and there's one more, I think. Yes, and that is all. And then I remove the double. Wait, not empty. Okay, there's a type over here. Okay, so I'll replace this with array, And the same thing here, I will replace that with array, like so. Okay. Okay, let's see what we get this time. Okay, so it's working as intended now. So I can remove this and search, or go home and then go page not found, and then type hello world and search, and then I find it there. Okay, so this is all working just fine, and we have all this, but let's put a what's this, a plugin, and see how we can hijack this and work with it. So in order for that to happen, let me close all files to avoid the confusion, and let me go to our 404 view file, and right about, where is this? Down here, where we're showing the image here, we're going to do this. We're going to put some PHP tags, okay, and put an if statement and say if empty, get find, okay, and then we put an else statement, and then end if here, yeah, like that. Okay, so if there is nothing we are finding, right, then let's show that. But if there's something we did find, here we're going to put a div that contains results, okay, and so this results here, we're going to say something like do action here, okay, so we'll put a PHP and then say do action, and close that. Now here we're going to put a hook. So we're going to create a hook here so that any other plugin can hook onto this function right here and do something, so it can display its own content here. All right, so that's one thing to remember. Wait. Okay, that's cool. So do action. Now it's always a good idea. Action can be something like what we did there, where we say before view. Now to avoid problems where because if you have two similar hooks, then they're going to run at the same time. So you never want any similar hooks, even amongst plugins. So what you need to do here is, this one is, let's say, display results. Let's be more elaborate, display search results. And then it's always a good idea to put the plugin ID over here. So to get a plugin ID, we should create a function called plugin ID to make things simple. So plugin ID, and then concatenate to that string, and then put an underscore. So it's good to use underscores for these hooks. So plugin ID, so in this case, this would be like 404 underscore display search results. Now obviously the plugin ID may never change, right? Now if you're sure of that, you don't even need to use a function here. You can just type 404 there, but you may find that another user has your plugin ID exactly the same, but you want the plugins to work on a similar project, right? On the same exact project. So you may have problems going around changing that plugin ID everywhere you used it. So instead, we will run a function that will do that for us. So this plugin should be part of the core. So we're going to put it anywhere. I'm going to say function, anywhere in the functions page, that is. So this thing should return a string of sorts. And yeah, it should return a string. So at the end, if nothing is returned, let's just return emptiness, because just to make sure it's a string. and plugin ID, we don't need to pass in anything. So at this point we will need this part here because we need to know which plugin we are trying to get an ID from. So wherever this thing is called from, we want to grab the ID of that particular plugin. So this is the path to the config.json file. So we know that, so we grab that path, and then we say if file exists. Usually the file should exist at this point. If it doesn't exist, then this plugin was never loaded, because this file is checked for when we are loading a plugin, and if it doesn't exist, then we will not load. So instead of wasting time checking if it exists, what we want to do is say ID is equal to, and then we're going to, actually let's just do this. We're going to say this is supposed to be JSON data, so I'm going to say JSON is equal to, and say file get contents, and that path. Now once we grab that data, I want us to convert it to an actual array, so we're going to say JSON decode, like that, and it's going to be an object, so that's fine. So then we say return JSON ID, or if it does not exist, just return an empty string, like that. Okay, so plugin ID, there it is. Now in order to make sure that this function is actually working as intended, we can go to the home page plugin here and go to this plugin.php and just echo the plugin ID of this one. So let's see if we are on the home page, and there it is. So you can see the plugin ID is home page, so it's working as intended. Alright, so I'll remove that. Now if I go back to the view of the 404, this is where we created an action here. Great. Now on the action we have to supply some data, usually an array. Okay, so here on do action we're going to supply the search results. So we're going to do this and call it results. We're creating an array here, and then we're going to say results, like that. So we'll create a variable results, which we're going to use here. So these are the results, and when we say do action, we supply the results, then any plugin can run some kind of activity in here using those search results that we have found. Okay, so results, yeah. And then now we can actually put a controller here so that when we do some searching, something can actually happen. Let's go back to the plugin. Let me close the functions thing. So we are back to the 404 plugin.php. This is the one here, and so there's a controller after query. No, we won't be running any queries here, so let's remove that. We have a view. We don't want to redirect anything, so we won't be doing things in the controller, and I don't think we need any permissions for this page. We may need to set some values, but maybe not. So what to do here? Yeah, so let me remove this as well. So what I'm going to do here is create search results, like that, and say is equal to, and I'll put that as an empty array. And then here I'm going to say results is equal to add filter, Now bear with me here, this may look like it doesn't make any sense, but just wait, you will get it eventually. So let's create a hook here. So this one will be, we'll call it search for item. Now these are names, I'm just thinking of them right now, so you can put things that actually are more meaningful for you. Search for item, and then let's do results here again, like that. Okay, all right, so don't forget the underscore here as well, because this is one word and the next one. Now since results here is empty, so we could just as easily do this instead. Just put an empty array over here. We can still grab the search term. Instead of grabbing it from here, we can grab it from the get variable. Since it's global, it's universal, so this is fine. So here we'll have results. We'll have another plugin do the searching depending on the search term. And then when we come back to the view of the plugin, which is a 404, here it's going to check to see if that's empty, we show the 404 image, but if it's not empty, we come down here. But here also we have to check to see if results are empty or not. So let's do that here quickly. So we just want the results. So if empty, or we say if not empty, and then let's put an else statement here, and then duplicate the and if and move it here like so, and let's push this inside. Okay, so if results are empty, we will do one thing. If are not empty, we will do one thing here, and then down here instead, if they are empty, we will put a div and say no results found. You search, it's better to be simple. No results found. Yeah. So let's come down here, let's refresh. So let me go to an unknown page again. So there we go. Now it shows the image, right? Then I can say yo, and then nothing shows, right? But we should see no results found here. So we went this way, of course, because of that. And if not empty, we go here. But if empty, we go here, right? Right. So why isn't this showing is the question. So I want to see where this is going. Let me try, maybe it's coming here actually. Let me put some text here and see if that text shows. Yeah, it does. So it's actually coming here, which is not right. So if not empty results, so how are results not empty? Let's go back to our plugin itself. So it seems results has something. So let's do results. What does it have? It has a 1. Why is there a 1 in there at all? What is going on? Plugin ID, filter, results, add filter. Oh, sorry, my bad. Do filter. Wait. Do action, yes. So it shouldn't be add, it should be do filter. Sorry about that. It's very easy to confuse these two. So when you are creating a hook, you are doing. When you are running the hook, you are adding, like that. So it takes a while to get used. You can see as I am confused as well. So there it says no results found, right? So if I type anything right now, it will say no results found. And if I remove this and just do that, then it comes to the 404. But if I type something, there it is. So now let me show you how a plugin can take advantage of this to actually display some useful information. So at this point, we're actually done with our base of the framework, because right now you have your home page, quite nice header and footer that follows you on every single page. But then if you type something that isn't found, you get to this. So this is all done, and then when somebody tries to search, it will tell them there's no results. Simple and straightforward. So this is the base. This is what we'll be starting with whenever we're creating a project. But let me show you a glimpse of what we can do with that 404 search thingy. So what I would do is I'm going to create a, let's imagine we have a new plugin, and that plugin is called maybe Pages or something, right? So let's create a plugin, Thunder, and then we're gonna say make plugin, and then say, let's just call it Pages. Okay, so now we have a plugin called Pages. Now before we even go further, there are things in the 404 that we don't actually need, like the controllers folder. We're not using this, so let's just delete that. It's good to keep things clean, so we delete that folder. Let me close that file. The migrations folder we don't need, let's delete that. Is simple is better. Same thing with the JS, but let's leave those in the assets. I think that's fine. The views are okay. We don't even need any models, so delete that as well. The same thing, we go to header footer. We don't need any of the controllers, so let's delete that folder. We don't need migrations. We also do not need models, so delete all of that. You can add those when you need them. So close that, and finally home page. We don't need controllers, delete folder. We don't need migrations, delete folder. We also do not need models, delete folder. Okay, so they are much lighter now. Now we go to the pages thingy here. So if I go to my config, now this one I want it to run on everything, right? Then we go to the plugin itself. So on this one, I don't want to deal with permissions or even these values over here. Let me remove all of that, but I'll leave controller. No, I won't even leave controller. I won't even leave view. You might need after query, but let's do something simple here. Let me do this. Okay, so now this this thing is trying to take advantage of the 404 plugin, and in the 404 plugin we have 404 underscore search for item as a hook. So that's a filter. So this one is the one that brings the search results. So what we would do in our pages plugin, right? We can run say 404 and then do that, search for item. So this is the hook we are targeting. So once we do this, we are receiving an array here of results. So let's just grab it, but we don't even have to receive it since it comes in as an empty array anyway, but it's good to receive it actually. Let's see here. It's good to receive it because it may not be empty by the time we're receiving it. And remember that we should always return what we were given. So there we go. And then now we get to modify it. And then I can now say results is equal to, and I can create an object. So let's imagine instead I want to create an empty object, and you do that by doing this. So there's no way to create an empty object. So what I'm doing here is just creating an array, but then casting it as an object. Okay, so then we say obj id is equal to 1. So we are simulating, we're trying to act like this is a database result, right? And then here I'm going to say, let's say this is for, I should have named it posts. Sorry about that. Let's just say title. We're going to say this is a post. Let's go like this. Okay, this is a post. And then date. Then we can do date here. Something like this. Okay, so then we add that to the results. Now we can loop this as many times as we want and add many posts, and then we return that result. Okay, so then since this is for the part where we are searching, and then we need one for the view part of the 404 here where we are displaying the results. So this hook is called 404 underscore display results. Oops, I ended up changing that. So this is an action here. It's not a filter. This one is an action. So you have to know these things. This one gives you the results that you get, and then you can do whatever you want with them. So for now, what I want to do is, let me just duplicate this. And then the hook I am running now is 404 display search results. And then these are the results I receive. So what do I do now? Since this is an action, oh sorry, this is an action, yes? No, this is a filter. So let's do add filter there. Okay, so that's a filter, this one is an action. And we know this is a filter because the original tells us that it's doing a filter there, right? The other one is an action because the original itself is doing an action. So we have to match that. So if you have a plugin and you want other users to use or extend it, you have to give documentation that explains where all the actions and all the hooks, what hooks are there, whether they're actions or filters, the user has to know. But in this case, because you are the one creating all the plugins and stuff, you can create your own documentation to remind yourself that this is what happens here. The point is that once you create code, you're not supposed to create it again. This is just to help you get very, very reusable code. Okay, so we have a filter here, and then we have action here. So in this action, we are receiving results as an array. So all we need to do is do a for each loop like that with results. And then we can put some HTML here to echo out the results there. Or what we could do is just say include instead of require. Let's include. Actually, we could even use require. It doesn't really matter. Not require once, but just require. And then let's use the plugin path, not the HTTP path, but just the plugin path. And then we're going to put one inside views and say single-post.php or something like that. So let's create within pages here inside views so that it doesn't tell us there's nothing found or anything. Let's rename this to just single-post. And then in here, I will delete these two. I don't need that. I just need this, maybe 400 pixels, the background color. And then I expect, wait a minute, this value is a row. So let's do row here. So I expect to have a variable called row when I'm within this, the single page view. So what I can do now is echo some stuff. I can say row title or row ID like that. Okay, so maybe I can have a table in here, I don't know, like this. You can say ID, and then post title or title by itself. Let's change that to title. And then date. Let's change that to date. Okay, And then this I want to display inline block, and then let's put a margin around it, 10 pixels. All right, so now if I go back and refresh, nothing is happening because those hooks are not activated. So you can see that that plugin isn't showing anywhere, the pages plugin we added, because it only runs on very specific hooks. So as you can see, if we come back to pages here, it only has 2 hooks where it runs. Anything outside here does not run, except when these 2 hooks are called, and these 2 are only called by the 404 when it engages a search and when it wants to display search results. So this plugin just leaves to answer the call of the 404 plugin. So let's try and search for something, anything really, because we didn't even give any search criteria. So we will get a result either way. So as you can see, there it is, we got a result. Now if you want it to actually be similar, let's go to post here. Where is this? Single post, we can close that, and 404 here. So inside here, as you can see, there is one of these that I created, but I can actually create a for loop of 10 posts, for example. And then let me move this down, and then I can say results. Actually, how did this even work? That's weird. This wasn't supposed to work. obj, wait a second. Attempted to read ID on array. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what I've done now is create an array of objects. That's what I was supposed to have done in the first place. So now here is where the error is. So here, as you can see, I can have results of my own from my plugin just to plug into the 404. And then here there is a row results, and then row, which is an object. And when I go to single post row, yeah, this should actually work. What's going on here? Okay, nonetheless, what we can do is do this and say results, just to see what is contained in there. So I'm going to refresh, and there it is. So it's an array, results is an array, and then there's an object in there, and another object. Yeah, this actually makes legit sense. So why then is it failing? Okay, so results as a key row, plugin path, single post. Yeah, this should work. So what is this error about? Attempt to read property ID on array. Why is it an array again, if I may ask? Let's see how we are doing this. We are emptying it. Okay, so when you have a problem like this, what you ought to do is just echo the whole thing. So let me do PHP dd and just echo row. Let's see what it contains, what it's complaining about. Okay, unexpected token. Oh, sorry, my bad. That should have been a semicolon. So it's one array. Let's see, array. I think I figured it out now. It's in the 404 view page. Sorry about this. 404 view page here. Yeah, there it is. When we are sending the results here, we're creating another array here when we shouldn't. So sorry about that. This is where things went south. So it's just supposed to give results there. Simple and straightforward. Okay, so refresh, and there it is, finally. Okay, so you can search for stuff here. We can simulate a search. That's what we're trying to do here. even though every post looks exactly the same, but this is just to show you that you can actually do something like this. And you can create multiple plugins that search for different things. For example, one plugin could be searching for pages, one plugin could be searching for posts, and the other one could be searching for users. They can all tap into this so that when somebody is lost and they type something, it can bring them results for each and every plugin that's different. That way you can just remove one plugin. If you don't want them to search for, let's say, users anymore, you can just switch off that plugin and that's it. No more search for users, switch off a plugin for searching for pages, etc., etc. So this is how other plugins can plug into another plugin and make use of it. But you should have foresight when creating these plugins. So wherever you think somebody could plug into, like this location right here, then you put an action like this, or you put a filter. We put an action here, but where we are doing the search itself, we put a filter there. So hopefully it's making sense, or maybe not, it's not making sense, but as we do more plugins and make more plugins, it will become even more apparent what's going on. So the only plugin that we don't need here is the pages plugin. So as you can see right now, when we type something here, some results do come, but if we delete this particular plugin, because we don't need it, let's delete that pages plugin. I think it's giving me permission stuff, so maybe I have a folder that's open. No, I think because it's open in here. Yeah, plugin homepage. So let's try again. Let's delete that folder. Oh, okay, so it's refusing that delete. Anyway, let me just say open folder. And this is it. Why is it refusing? Ah, it's because it's open in Windows. Okay, so that was that. So now let's right click and delete that folder. And apparently not, we still don't have their permissions. Okay, so let me open that folder again. Open folder. Back to just plugins here. And let me maximize that, and let me close Sublime Text, and let me try to delete it now. Okay, so now it's gone. So open Sublime Text again. Okay, so then it's gone now like that, and we have just the bare minimum that we need. Okay, so great. So this marks the end of our okay, so if I come back here now and search, I don't get any errors. It just tells me no results because that plugin that was responsible for that is gone, and that's the beauty of this whole thing. Alrighty then, so hopefully you've learned something new, and we will start now creating plugins for this particular framework. We're going to create several plugins, so that with just by downloading the framework, you are able to actually create a full-blown website, like a blog or something like that. So we'll put as many plugins as we need to have that capacity. One final thing before we go, I forgot 3 functions. These are the functions here. So we go to the functions.php page, and let's add those functions to the end. Alright, so the first function is the escape function. This will always return a string, and it can be null. And here we expect a string. Oops, what did I do? We're just gonna call it string. Something like this. Let me put a question mark for in case we expect a null value like that. Okay, so the escape function is just for using HTML, what is it called? HTML special chars like this. This is all we're going to return. As simple as that. Okay. Now what this does is, in case somebody saved some JavaScript in your database and then you want to echo it to your browser, that JavaScript will actually run as JavaScript. But using this function, we can stop it from doing that, which can stop it us from potentially getting hacked. Because somebody can, instead of saving, for example, a description of themselves in the database, they can save some JavaScript. And then once the JavaScript is saved in the database, if somebody tries to view their profile to see what their description of that person, that JavaScript will be run on that server, and then it can actually run things on the database. So we don't want to be hacked in that way, so we use that one. There's also another function called getDate. This one returns a string as well. Here we actually, how do we get a string date as well? We need a date and we return a string. So here we return date. So usually a date is something like 2023 8- maybe 4, something like that. This is not very human readable friendly. So the one that we want this to be converted to something like 21st May 2023, something like this. You see, this is more human readable. So in order to get this format, we put a small letter J, capital S, and then an M for the month, and then a comma, and then capital Y for the year. Now we're supposed to run that on this given date. Now this function doesn't function on that date we usually save in the database. So we need to convert it to a string to time using this function called string to time like that. We're converting it to a Unix timestamp, and then we run this function on it, and it returns something more human readable. And then finally we have this function called message. Now this one sometimes will return null, or it will return a string. And then here we have string, which is a message. Let's just call it message is equal to emptiness. So we can leave it like that, and we have another boolean here for true or false. This one is, we're going to call it erase, and we'll set it to false for a start. Okay, so let me explain what this does. This one, a message is going to save a message. Let's say you're on one page and you are editing a user's profile, and then when you click save, it saves, but then the page refreshes to the list of all users, right? So we want it to actually give you a message at the top and say new user created successfully or something. But we can't use conventional means because that's a different page. It has redirected you to another page, and the message should still persist on that page. So in order for that to happen, we have to save in the session, and this is what that function will do. So since we are saving in the session, we have to evoke the session. So we have to do that, and then session. And then from this, now we do some checks and say, first of all, if this is not empty, it means we are saving into the session, right? So let's do this and say if not empty, message. So if the message is not empty, then we do a save, and we can save by doing session set like that. Then we give the key that we are saving to, it's called message, of course, and then the text we are saving, that's message. Okay, simple and straightforward. So if somebody calls this function and they do this and say message and then say user saved, exclamation mark. So like that, this is going to save that data into the session. But then how do we read it back? So to read it back, we just do message like that without supplying anything. And then when it sees that there's nothing supplied there, it's going to read instead. So that's how you get the message back. You say echo something like that, message. So in this case, we'll give an else statement. So another else if, we'll say if not empty. Let's grab session here again. So we can only return if there is a message in there, right? So let's do session get. This time we're doing a get because we are getting from the session message like that. So if there's an actual result from the session in there, then let's return it. So we return that very yes, we return the result of a get from there. But if, for example, erase is true, then we want to erase that message once we read it. So we can do message like this, and then we put an empty string to say we're not saving anything, but then we put true here, which means we are erasing the message as well. So here we can put an if erase, which means we have to erase. Then we're going to say session pop, and then we pop that message like so. All right, but the thing is, if we erase that, we want to return the message before we want to return the message as well. But if we return here, we'll never get to this code because things will return here. So at the same time, we want to return the message and erase it. So here what I'm going to do is just say something like message is equal to that, right? And then once I get it, then I can pop it now. So I can say erase, pop, remove it from there. And then once I can actually do a return right here, but it doesn't matter because I've actually gotten it from here. So then we can just say return message like that. And if all fails, we simply return emptiness, just to make sure that we're returning something. But we can return a null though, but just to be clean. Okay, so that's the code here. If erase blah blah blah. So we can do a little test to see if that actually worked. So here we'll do this. So I can go to my plugins here, and let me go to the plugin I know only exists on one page. That's the home page. If inside the views, I can go to a view here, or maybe in the plugin itself, right above here, I can just say message hello there, like that. So then I have saved a message here. So if I now refresh to the home page, I assume I have saved that message. So that message will be saved, even though I remove that part here, will be saved for a while. I can refresh the page, even go to other pages, and if I go back, it should still be saved. So how do I read it back? So to read it back, I can do message like that, and then just like this, and this should be echoed, of course. So if I do that and refresh, you see it says hello there, right there, like so. So even if I refresh many times, it's still there. So in order to erase it, I have to tell it that once you read, this is the last time, erase it. And now if I do that, it reads the last time, but then if I refresh this time, it's gone. So that's how we're going to be sending messages like please log in, user saved successfully, blah blah blah, things like that. There's one more important function we need to add that checks whether specific tables exist. So we're going to put this in the database.php class. This is handy because when you have a lot of plugins, sometimes you may not realize that some tables have not been migrated yet. So it would be good to run migrations on those. Alright, so what we're going to do is create a public function here. So we're going to say public function table exists. So this thing is going to check if a table exists, and it's going to return true or false, depending on whether the table exists or not. So here we're going to have either a string or an array of, we're going to call it my tables, like that. Okay. So either a string or an array to check for. Now the reason we allow an array is sometimes you want to check for multiple tables at the same time to see if they exist, and then sometimes you just want to check a single table if it exists. And then because to check whether tables exist or not means we have to read in the database. Now the less we have to go to the database, the better. So what we're going to do is we'll grab that global app variable like that. That way we can actually store data in this app variable so that we read only once from the database, and then we load all the tables that exist in there. That way the next time we try to say if table exists, we can just read from the existing thing. So we only read once every refresh in the table to check if tables exist. So yeah, I'm gonna say if empty if app tables is empty, it means we haven't created it yet. Otherwise, if it exists, what we would do is we're going to say result is equal to this app tables. I'm gonna grab that and paste it here. So we'll read from the database here, but then if it exists, we just grab what already exists. And then here we'll say if result, if there was a result, then we'll do stuff. But at the end here, we'll say return false if we didn't get any of this. So in here, we're looking for a way to return true. So this could be a string or an array, but if it's a string, what we would do is we'll convert it to an array. So I'm going to say if is string my tables, then let's just say my tables is equal to, let's just put it inside an array like that as the first item of the array. That way we are sure it's an array at this point. So let's do a for each loop, and here we are looping through my tables. So for each table, we're just trying to see if that table exists within this. So here we're going to say if in array, let's put an if statement there and say if in array. Oh, I usually forget what comes first here. So I need to do this. The needle is the, let's just call it table. So that's what we are looking for, table, and in the haystack we are looking within app tables in there. So if in array, what we're going to do is let's put a counter here. We're going to say count is equal to 0, and then if one of those exists, let's do count plus plus like that. So we're just counting how many we've found in there. And if at the end of it, we say if count is very much equal to the amount of items in an array, in this array here of tables. So if the ones we've found are equal to the number of items, tables in there, then we return true at this point. Otherwise, we will return false. It means some of the tables at least are missing. Okay, so table exists. Yes. Okay, so the only part remaining now is to actually run a query that reads from the database. So here we will say result is equal to, and let's see, result blah blah blah. Okay, so we need to actually add content to these tables. But anyway, here I'm just going to say result, and I will do, what do I do here? That result should be the same as that over here. So it would be good to just say app is equal to that, and then it's equal to, so that they are all equal to the same thing. We're going to say this and then run a query over here. And then let's do the query like so. Alrighty then. So we get that from the result. Now we need a query. So how will the query look like? It's difficult for me to remember the query, so I just wrote it earlier, and I'll do a copy and paste. So this is the query here. Query is equal to select table name. So it has to be like this. As tables, okay, we are creating an alias of tables for the column name. That's why we can look for it inside tables. From information schema dot tables, where table schema is equal to, and then here we put our database name. Now we want to be able to change the database name if need be. So what we are going to do is should be easy enough to change that if we want to. So maybe we can just add it over here. Anything that we need, that we think might be changeable, we can just add it here. So what I can do here is just say table exists db. Okay, let's do that. Is equal to, let's set that to an empty string. Table exists db. So what we can do is, after these vars have been altered here, then we know the actual db that will be here. So we can just say vars db name. We put it here. We set this table exists db is equal to, okay. So after altering that, we set that here. That way we always have the whatever selected table, we have it here. So now I can use this instead of that constant that I was trying to use down here. So we'll come down here like so, and then we'll replace that with this table exists db. So this is the query now. Now don't forget there's a single quote here and double quotes and then a dot, and here we have a single quote in between two double quotes, and of course a dot here. So this is the query here. Copy it as it is. Select db name as tables from information schema dot tables, where table schema is equal to, and then you put the actual database name. Okay. What else? Now the result is going to be equal to this. Wait. I think here I done made a mistake. So the result here, here the reason we are saving this data inside this is for future reasons, so that the next time we come, this is going to be false. So it will be forced to go here instead. Okay, so this is not really what we want. The result of this is usually a, let me put it here for example. I'm just going to say die at this point, and then what I'll do is dd and say result. That way we see what result we get when we try to read from the database. So I'm going to get any of these plugins that are here, for example homepage, and go to plugin db there. I just want to do something quick here, db is equal to, new core database. And then here I can say db table exists. So I want to see if a specific table exists, maybe the users table. Okay. So I want to echo that like so. So let's go here and let's refresh. Okay, so this is what we got from there. This was the query and it was empty over here. Very curious. So we ended up getting 0 results there. Okay, table exists. Why are we even getting wait a second. Oh, okay, I understand now. Okay, so that's the result we got. Interesting. Yeah, this could be a problem. Table exists. The thing is, why is this empty? This table exists. Wait. Right. Okay, so the problem is that I'm trying to run this, and this only happens when we do the connect. After that, things are not good anymore. Okay, so let's do this instead. We have to redo this code, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is start from here. Let's actually start from here. And let's do all of this like so. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, copy. So we just need to run our own query here, unfortunately. So I'm going to move all of this down here, and let's put this in here, like so. So this will just make the function bigger, but that's fine, so that we can do the connect and then have our query down here. So like this. So once we do the connect, then this will have a value now. Okay. This. I guess I could have just done that connect there, right? Yep, I could have just done that. Okay, maybe let me just do that. So let's try and let's remove all of this. Let's just do a connect there, just so that this can have a value, and then we run the query. The connection will happen again. Okay, let's try again. Okay, at least we have some result now, and that is actually a value. Okay, so our results are inside result. This is what we want. We don't need any of this other stuff. So let's come back here. So what I would do is I'll duplicate this, and here I'll just say res, like so, is equal to this, and then all of these guys will be equal to res result. So let me put that here. That's because our query function actually adds extra stuff here, but what we really want is just in here. So now let's see what we get instead. Boom, this is all I wanted. Okay, so list of tables is just this one, users. Now if we had more tables in this particular DB, we would see something different. Let me try and let's go to config. Let me try a different database. Thunder PHP DB. Let me try this one and see how many tables it has. Okay, unknown database. I don't know what it's called. Thunder DB. Ah, there we go. So we have more tables in here. So as you can see, this is how the results are. It's an array of objects. So each object has tables as one of the params here. So what I need to do is just do an array column so that I can just grab just the tables themselves, and that way I can create a proper list. So I'll keep that for now. I'll edit it in a moment. Come back here, and here we'll say the result array column. Yes. So we're gonna say array column. The input is this other one. The column key is tables. So the input is results. So let me see what that gets me. So instead of this complex stuff, we get this. So at least now the tables are straightforward like this, which is nice. Okay, so within here, we're going to grab this part and remove the die. Then we'll come down here. Before we do the comparisons, we're going to say all tables. That's just what I'll call it, is equal to, and then we'll do the array column. Let's remove one of these brackets and that, like so. So array column results. Then we can grab all tables, and that's what we'll be using for comparison, like so. Okay, great. So now at this point, if I know what tables exist, there's users and there's posts. I know that for sure. So what I'll do is, if I go back to my plugin, I can say table exists, users. So I need to get either true or false. Let me use var dump so that we can see the actual file type. So I'm gonna do this and I'll refresh. So it says false. That can't be right. No, 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 no. Okay, let's go back to var dump here. So back to this, why doesn't that exist? So if in array or tables count. Okay, so what's happening here? I need to see what is the number for count. Okay, turns out to be 1, which is not, yes, that's true. So then it should return true now. Ah, right, so my bad. I'm supposed to compare with all tables here instead of this one. So let's do that and let's check it out. Wait, still false? Why? Count is 1. How about all tables? How much is that? There's 14 tables. Ah, okay. I get it. Okay, I'm supposed to compare with my tables and how many I actually found. So I'll copy and put my tables here. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. Let's refresh, and now it's true. Okay, so let's confirm by putting a table I know does not exist, like users 3. Now it does not exist. Okay, but I know the posts table exists, like that. True. Okay, cool. But what about if I put an array instead of tables? So there's posts, and what about users? Combined, do they all exist? True. Okay. What about if I add a third one, some gibberish? I know that table does not exist, so it should return false. and it does. Okay, so now it's running as intended. So now I can remove this code over here. I don't need it anymore, and save. Alright, but this series is done with this video. I will see you in the next one.